What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at why two striker systems have fallen out of favor in the modern game. And before we get into the tactics and the reasons why, check out both my books. They're online on Amazon and there's links in the description below. Now let's get right into the tactics. So when we say two striker systems, we mean two out-and-out number 9s, as we see highlighted on our screen, a 9 and a 10 in a 4-4-2 system. Now, years ago, this was pretty much a staple throughout the game and a very widely accepted and used structure with two natural number 9s will get on the end of crosses and be target men in hold-up play. Now, we still see teams use two forwards at times, like a team like Burnley, maybe Atletico Madrid, but there's very different dynamics of these two strikers than in the past. So the first reason why this has fallen out of favor is because two central forwards typically favors a very compact defensive shape and promotes compactness and a very structured approach from the defensive team because of the more players in the central corridors, and the lack of mobility from a natural number 9 limits the amount of involvements he can have throughout the pitch and in dangerous space, as we see both the number 9 and number 10 are positioned on a central defender, making it very routine in defending and marking them. Also, the compactness is in the central corridors of the field, giving them a lot of control over the most dangerous areas. Now we'll take a look as a number 10. One of our strikers typically likes to drop deeper in the modern game, so we have single use of the natural number 9, but now we have two players occupying the half spaces between the lines, and only one player committed to occupying both central defenders. So now the natural number 9, who remains higher, is typically doing the same job as both of them were just doing, but now we're just using less players to do the same job. Now we have more players or more connections in more dangerous areas, with then our winger going out into the wide area, creating dual width, and then pinning a different defender in a different area. And now the emphasis in the modern game to use these spaces to break down the opposing team is in direct correlation with the lack of an out-and-out two number 9 system. Now we see the wide adoption in recent times of a 4-3-3 or some variation of a 4-3-3 offensive structure gives you a 3-man midfield, and it puts your attacking midfielders in positions to then affect multiple defenders in dangerous ways. So as we take a look back to our two number 9s, we remember they were both positioned on one central defender, typically only affecting one player each. Now we have two players essentially affecting and having the potential to manipulate 3 players from the opposing team, giving us a very big advantage when we have the ball, because these players require the defense to shift in a much more complex way. Now we can look at more of a Liverpool model, or the false 9 approach, with what we see as more of a now two central strikers, but now inverted wingers. So we'll have two players committed to the central corridors in the last line of our opposing team's defense. And this allows our false 9 to drop in, create a diamond midfield, and affect the back 4. So a little bit different with the inside wingers and inverting wingers to then pin the back 4, because these two players are positioned narrow, not essentially as central strikers, but between center backs and fullbacks to pin the entire back 4. We're trying to affect these players to then create space in more central and dangerous areas. So just a little bit wider approach from these two players changes it from a two striker system to inverted wingers, and because of the movement from the wide area inside, makes the systems very different. And now, as we see of more of a Pep Guardiola approach, having the number 9 start deeper as a false 9 without the inverting wingers just puts the number 9 in a more natural position to affect dangerous areas and giving him more mobility and more variations in his play. So we have the 10 and 8 alongside the number 9 in the central corridors. They all have different roles within the team, but they all start a bit deeper between the lines to have better access to each other and to dangerous space, rather than positioning on the last line of defense, where then their movement can typically only go back to their own goal, but in this position, their movement can be varied from going higher, deeper, or more horizontally, which gives them much more threat in their movement. And now we'll look at a back three using a two-striker system in a 3-5-2, which has become more and more common. So as we see again, the two strikers in a 3-5-2 pretty much can have many different dynamics to run off of each other, running in behind, dropping deeper as a target player, as we see from a typical two-striker system years ago. But now we see more and more teams who use a 3-5-2 using, again, their two strikers to pin the back four to try and create space for their midfield or in the wide areas to progress around the opposing team's block. That's where we're going to wrap up the analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.